Ladies and gentlemen, this is the state of the scene.
Yo, what the fuck is up, Warped Tour? SOTS podcast on all social media, the alternative music show. Sam here with Marcos.
Do I look lonely? I see the shadows on my face. People have told me I don't look the same. Maybe I lost weight. I'm playing hooky with the best of the best. Pull my heart out my chest so that you can see it too.
No, you did not.
I'm walking the long road.
No, you did not.
Watching the sky fall.
I'm about to take my hat off and stand up.
The
like
lace in your
allegiance.
dress tangles my neck. How do I live? The death of a bachelor.
All right. Yeah, we don't need you. Enough, please.
No.
Enough. No, no singing. Spoken word only. I don't need you trying to hit notes. All right. We'll leave the note hitting
I can't, dog.
to the professionals. Yeah, so big news this week. We'll get into it a little later, but obviously Panic at the Disco has been murdered. And that's arguably the biggest story by far. But there's a lot of fun things in the news, to be fair. Waterparks, August Burns Red, Enterprise Earth. Locket's back. I don't know if you guys know Locket, but they're really fucking cool, and they're back.
Coliseums? Some new names in there, too.
Some new names in there, too. We also got some reviews, Marcus. Before we get to all that, this was like one of the most depressing weeks in the scene imaginable. I don't know if you kept up with like half the fucking miserable GoFundMes that we got this week.
Yeah, so we got a Hollow Front GoFundMe.
Right. So
GoFundMe.
So first things first, I'm gonna drop a link for all of these in the description of this episode. So feel encouraged to, even if any of these have met their goal already, donate a little bit, because I promise you whatever they asked for is less than what they needed. But so let's start at the top here. Hollow Front, while losing a member, Dakota,
yeah.
Also posted a GoFundMe because they're dealing with a legal battle that was incurred from a van accident that they have been dealing with for, from what I understand, well over a year. And they could use your help to fight that battle. And you know, this is a good instance of one of those moments where, hey, if you like a band and you want them to stick around, then go help them out. You know what I mean? Like, even $5, $10, $15, whatever. Every little bit helps. Mm-hmm. Moving on from there, Thornhill had literally everything they own stolen. I think they said it was like upwards of $100,000 worth of gear.
Insane.
Right. Like they just like wiped clean. And through a series of unfortunate events, they don't think they'll be able to recoup the vast majority of it from insurance. So that band could also desperately use your help. And again, $5, $10, $15, whatever you got, every little bit always helps, even if these bands have already hit their goals. Like, do what you can to help your bands you love stick around.
Additionally, spinning a record, buying a record, those types of things always help.
Mm-hmm. And then maybe most unfortunately, or most unfortunately out of all these events, Currents announced that their guitarist Ryan was currently dealing with a battle with cancer and needed help paying for medical bills because they are an artist who lives in the United States, which is not a phenomenal combination whenever you then have medical bills to pay for.
Nope.
So once again, every little bit helps. Go give what you can, give a little bit. Love the bands that we talk about on this show. And would love to do every little bit we can for them. So links for all those GoFundMes in the description of this episode. Now, I'm gonna say this is
not segue to the Patreon.
This is not
I'm begging you, don't do it.
This is not the week. This is not the week for the Patreon.
But we do have a merch store.
Right. But hey, if you're one of those people who has more than enough money to go around for everything, by all means, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/SOTS podcast. If you want to support this show, it is the lifeblood of what we do here.
Jokingly, like jokes aside, we do have merch. You can get that design behind us on a t-shirt or a hoodie or whatever, a mug if you wanted.
Mm-hmm. A lot of benefits over on our Patreon, whether it's stickers, Discord benefits, your name in the producer credits of this episode. But reasonably, if you want to skip this week, you're more than welcome. Your money could be better used elsewhere. Now, we've got some bands to shout out this week, Marcos.
Like a who?
We have some bands in the spotlight.
The spotlight.
I don't know why I decided to call it the shout out. We've been doing this for years now.
I thought we were doing two different things at first.
No.
Okay.
That's my brain a little fried at the end of the week on a Friday. In the spotlight this week, Crooked Teeth and their song "Loser" featuring Cami Patton. Three-piece pop punk band from California. This track is inspired by Paramore, Blink-182, and brace yourself, Marcos, Papa Roach. Cami Patton is an alternative pop artist also hailing from California. You can follow them on Instagram at Crooked Teeth Rock and at Cami.Patton, respectively.
Papa Roach is a bit of a curveball, if you will.
You ever in the mood? You ever in the mood for a little misery business, but also a little cut my life into pieces?
Always. Actually, to be honest, like, that makes a good playlist.
Actually, yeah, a little bit. That's literally every emo playlist. Also, in the spotlight, Shower Beers and their song "Bring You Down." Punch You in Your Mouth pop punk from New York City. This track is self-described as gang vocals meets a hoedown.
What the fuck?
Right?
Everything about this is like music to my ears, literally. Like the name of this, Shower Beers?
It's going to blow your mind when you listen to the song, because that's going to be music to your ears as well. Follow them on Instagram at Shower Beers Music. And finally, The Northern and their song Hourglass. It's like breaking. Metalcore from the Great White North. This track was produced by John DeLees, who also worked with Cane Hill and For the Fallen Dreams. Marcus, you can follow them at Northern TO on Instagram. That's your spotlight for the week. Before we review some albums, once again, at SOTS Podcast on all social media, patreon.com/SOTS Podcast if you want to support the show. Every link you need is in the description of this episode, including the link to our Discord, merch. What other stuff do we link to generally?
I think that's it.
No, there's got to be something. A playlist. Every song you hear on the show, you can find on the playlist, The State of the Scene. And if you're listening on YouTube, like, subscribe, leave a comment. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, give us 5 stars. Okay? We appreciate it. Marcus, what we listened to this week?
The Breakdown.
We had a really interesting week for reviews, actually.
Why is that?
So, a couple of things. 3 artists that I think we've discussed in total a maximum of 3 times each, or both all together, you know,
a combined total of 3 times. Yeah, I'm with you.
Probably, maybe,
possibly,
maybe. Who even knows? Probably not. And coincidentally, all their second albums.
Ooh, interesting. So Marcos, we'll call this segment sophomore slump or sophomore thump.
No, because you haven't heard the debut from any of these artists.
How do you know I haven't heard the debut from any? No, but that's beyond the point. Don't assume things about me.
I'm gonna assume all day and night.
So once again, we're playing Sophomore Slump or Sophomore Thump. Marcus, who are we starting with this week?
We're going to start off with the album Honey by an artist named Samia.
I remember it, June, 7 p.m. Getting past to watch your screensaver. Sea lions swim.
Sam, Samia is actually the daughter of a famous movie star.
Seriously?
Yeah. Do you know who?
Okay, how 3 guesses?
Yeah.
One clue.
What the? Okay, October.
Okay, so I'm going to go with The Hunt for Red October, and I'm going to say, is this Sean?
I don't even know who's in that movie.
Is this Sean Connery's daughter?
No.
Okay, all right. Second guess. October. Maybe Halloween related. Is this Michael Myers' daughter?
Nah.
Third and final guess. Give me a second clue. Give me a second clue.
First name Kathy.
Is this Catherine Bigelow's
No.
daughter? Okay. Well,
Kathy Najimy's daughter. Kathy is
I don't know who that is.
one of 3 Sanderson sisters in the Hocus Pocus franchise.
Shut up.
Mary Sanderson.
Shut the fuck up.
Samia is their daughter. Also, her father is like a famous musician, but I didn't recognize the band. So, how famous? I don't know.
It would low-key be very funny if it was like
extremely Phil Sting. I don't
it was
know.
like Led Zeppelin,
Yeah.
and you're just like never heard of them. Okay, neat. I like a little backstory
Yeah,
when I had
so-
none.
We'll jump into like actually this review. So this is the New York City singer-songwriter's second studio album, released January 27th via Grand Jury Music. Honey consists of 11 tracks, clocks in at around 40 minutes, and is the follow-up to 2021 Scout EP, which again we haven't heard. They also have a debut album called The Baby, which came out in 2020. I think that's actually a great name for an album.
I do like that actually.
Right.
Yes.
I read up a little bit on Scout, that EP's release, and it was marketed or it was
Promoted?
sold as the older like sister album to The Baby, so EP to The Baby. It was a very interesting sell.
Like there's some sort of like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
conceptual like promotional thing there.
Right. So I don't know if that through line continues onto this album, but what I can tell you is I'm really happy we discovered Samia. What you probably already told from the clip that we played ahead of this review is that this artist really isn't anything like most of the artists we typically discuss on the show. And
Proud
trust
of
me,
ourselves for
we'll
branching
get
out.
into those. We have a couple of other artists that they play heavy music and they play it pretty well. Samia is above anything else just a really strong voice, and like through that, like just the music that plays behind that voice is secondary to how powerful that voice can be. So what's cool is that Samia can blend genres in a really impressive way, because it doesn't really matter what the background is. It's just the delivery and the vocals that really sells the music. So like we're going from like maybe some pop punk, some punk in general, to like indie, to maybe country or folk. And it's like, it all ends up really just being indie pop when it's all said and done. But the way that we can kind of like all these different offshoots throughout the album make for a really fun listening experience. I can keep going unless you want to jump in.
No, by all means. I'm actually, I think you're covering a lot of what was going on through my head as I was listening to this record as well. I'll take a pause to say that this is my sophomore thump of the week, and then I'll let you continue.
I figured you've not heard anything else from this artist.
Or have I? Who knows? Who can
You
say?
haven't.
Oh, and that talent runs in the family.
It does, clearly. I'm really, really impressed by Samia. I think that the full transparency, easily lyricist of the week. There's some fucking bars on this album. The track Sea Lions opens up with screaming porn kills love. And I just
wrote
like, dude, I fell
wrote it
off my
down because
seat.
I too felt so strongly about the line that it needs to. Yeah.
There's another opening line.
Goated bar of the year, arguably.
Yeah, I forget which song. There's another one that like opens up with like your mom is your mom is threatening suicide on a holiday while your sister is cooking fresh vegetables in LA or some shit like that.
Well, your sister's in LA cutting up fresh produce, I believe. Something
Exactly.
along those. But you're right. And it's what this artist does so incredibly well, right? It's and let me read word for word what I wrote down here. Superbly written. This album, wielding specificities that paint like a really vibrant picture of who this person is and what their life is and what their mindset is. And I love when an artist just like fully opens up a window and lets you like drink in every little detail.
It's really descriptive. It's really conversational, which is like fascinating.
This album succeeds so much on the back of the casual cadence of its delivery, which is why every line works no matter how darkly disturbing or like heartwarming it is.
Yeah, and listen, I said earlier that like Samia's got a very powerful voice, but like I can't emphasize that like it's a strong voice in the sense that Samia is a good singer, but the delivery of a lot of lines throughout this entire like, melodies throughout this album, it's all like very vulnerable, very like weak at times, or alternatively very like
interesting because the voice is so delicate, but the words are often very biting.
They sting a little, yeah.
Yeah.
They cut deep. So like there's instances where you just find yourself absolutely lost during song, like lost in the song.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned Sea Lions earlier, and I think that for me, it might be already my favorite song of the year that I've heard so far. It's just a really impressive track. I think it's got such an unconventional song structure to me anyway, or at least to what we're familiar with discussing on this show. And it doesn't really have a chorus or anything. It's like a 5-minute song. It ends by like the 2.5 minute mark.
Oftentimes
and then it goes
it's just
into like a 1.5 minutes of like instrumentals before it ends on this weird like Siri voice delivery of a bunch of different lines or phrases. And it's like, you know, reverse, inverse, handshake. Like it's just repeating all these random words. And part of me is sitting there like, is this what Samia wrote down as like, is this like what we have in our like notes on our phone of like inspirational or words to take inspiration from when we're writing music? Like that's what it comes across initially. So by the time that song is over, you're fucking lost in it.
It's almost just sort of letting your train of thought like just flow. And I think that is sort of what when you say it has an unconventional song structure, in a sense that like it doesn't have a chorus, I agree with you. But I think that unconventional structure mostly comes from the way that the vocals are delivered, where I feel like instrumentally, if it's such a backdrop, and I don't feel like it
well, and I meant more so like, you know, every song is verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, and this isn't that at all.
No, it feels like storytelling, honestly. And it
That
works
song in
incredibly
particular.
well. No, but I think it's a lot of it, to be fair.
Breathing Song is another standout, and that's honestly, holy shit, maybe my second favorite song on this album.
There's a line in there, "You carried me Raggedy Ann legs," which like really jumped out to me.
That the whole storytelling on this song, I read up a little bit on, so in this album you've got a Breathing Song, and then right after it I think is the song Honey, and my understanding is that there's supposed to be two sides of the partying experience, where one is like, oh, I'm looking forward to the fucking weekend. It's going to get litty. It's going to go fucking insane. Fuck Sunday. It's all about Saturday and Friday.
Sunday.
And then like alternatively, you've got a Breathing Song where it's like, you know, my boyfriend and I are doing breathing exercises, 4 in, 6 out. He carried me from the bar to the fucking ER. The doctor's a dumbass.
It's like pre-party, post-party.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That song was really interesting. Also, the delivery of that It's essentially the fucking chorus in that song where it's no, 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 no. It's like the fucking repetition before it ends with Samia like screaming the last no, hard cutoff, straight to the fucking jolly good fun time instrumentals that are on the title track. It's such a insane contrast, and it makes for a really like fun listen in general.
You know who's a fun within our wheelhouse comparison is this is almost like a melancholic version of some aspects of Waterparks.
I was trying to find one, and that does kind of get you there.
Like if we're really trying to labyrinth our way to a connection within an artist we've spoken about prior,
this is a little further out from our scene, like a little further back out from the scene, but an artist we have, reviewed in the past on this show, the 1975, particularly the song Mad at Me, which like it's super in the chorus. It has that 1975 feel. It's a little spacey. It's a little airy. It's very contemporary. It's just got a real earworm of a chorus. But yeah, like I guess Waterparks might be, and I don't know, like
in an abstract sense.
Yeah.
Like if you challenged me to 6 degrees my way to another scene artist.
Well, there's a lot of like sad boy pop we've discussed on this show, and like maybe a little bit of that too.
Fair. Absolutely fair. I think I had another line in here that I wrote down as well that I really wanted to talk about. I see a cobweb hanging in the window, but you see a constellation from Na Na Na, which I thought was an absolutely gorgeous line.
Fucking Kill Her, Freak Out, the opening song where it's like, I hope you end up with that fucking girl from your hometown, but I'm gonna fucking kill her.
That's what I mean. It's like this trade of thought, but this window into like somebody's whole like person. It's just such like a beautifully like well constructed album. And the second line in Sea Lions, it's screaming porn kills love. Outside your window with the Adventists.
Yes.
It's that little bit of coloring, like that little additional like specificity provided to like the follow through with these lines that really sort of like it's just again it paints such a vibrant picture.
Also, like with Sea Lions, where those two specific words come into play, where it's watching the Sea Lion screensaver on your TV, and suddenly it's just like, okay, well, that's why it's the name of the song, but also what a fascinating thing to just throw into a song as well, like the fucking Roku TV screensaver type.
There was
of thing.
another line that caught me off guard too. It was something about like listening to so and so on your iPod and
gospel music on your iPod. That's
yes.
from fucking Kill Her, Freak Out, which is the opening song on this album. Listen, at the end of the day, you put this on my radar. I kind of jumped into it, and initially I was like, why would we discuss this on the show? And the more time that I invested into this album, I was like, holy shit, it's just because it's fucking great, and I just want to talk about it. And it's not always that I can just throw the phone down and not even read off of notes, just because of how passionate I am about a certain project, that it's all just coming straight out of my head, fucking out of my mouth. I don't know. Like, Samia is really talented. This is a really fun album. Check Honey out. It's like, again, it's already out. Go check it out. It's on all streaming platforms.
Yeah, I totally agree. This is the best thing I've heard so far this year, and I know it's early, but it really did leave a mark.
Sophomore thump.
You think we can make it a thing?
Even
Even if a band is on like their 10th album, we'll play the same game over and over.
We're back with the new Metallica album.
Sophomore or thump.
We also had a chance to listen to The Infinite by Suasion.
Control. Downfall. I need control. Stop the downfall. Visualizing makes no sense. I'm swallowed by the waves. I am left.
This is the Belgium outfit's second studio album, released January 27th via Atomic Fire Records. The Infinite consists of 12 tracks, clocks in at around 43 minutes, and it's the follow-up to 2019's debut LP, Stardust.
Fun
title.
Fun because we just got the title announcement from Fall Out Boy last week, so fun.
I think a band also maybe just dropped a song called Stardust too.
Stardust is in. Stardust is hot right now. Stardust is very hot right now.
You're the Stardust.
How did you pronounce the name of that band?
So you know, like the word persuasion.
Yes. I liked
Get
how
rid
you
of the
pronounced it.
P-E-R, and it's suasion. Is that not the way it's pronounced?
I really liked it. No, what I was going to say is that had you left me to my own devices, I would have said something like Suasion.
Trust me, like I looked at it, I'm just like, that's one fucking Pokemon ass title.
Sure.
Pokemon ass band name. Listen, a lot of firsts this week.
Seconds, actually. These are sophomore
Gotta
albums.
be the first time or the second time we've ever discussed a band from Belgium. Or should I say Belgium? Belgium.
Oh, very nicely, because they're heavy. Yes,
Yeah.
I understand it. I'm trying
They're
to
a
think
little
off the top
heavier.
of
This
my
is
head.
more in everyone's wheelhouse, okay? We're done with Samia.
Is
but they're
Denmark
great.
in
Go check
Belgium?
them out.
I feel like it isn't. I feel like Denmark's in
I think
Denmark.
Belgium is its own thing.
Belgium's its own thing.
Is it not?
Oh, they're doing a lot
What
of
do
fun
they
stuff over
speak
there in Europe.
Belgium?
Belgian, oh, you fucking
Belgish?
dumbass. Bro, this scratched a very long and dormant itch.
But not right away for me. It took like until tracks 4 and 5, which are titled, I think, Explore and Transformation, or Transformer, or Transform, one or the other, before this really clicked for me. But Sam, when it fucking did, like I was fully bought in for the rest of the ride.
It's electronic core. All right. So, like, on paper, easy sell, right?
Sam's already bought.
Right. I was like, let's go.
Like I'm already worried this is like you're circling this as your AOTY for the year.
I heard the single for this, Equilibrium, which is deep in this album. I think it's like the next to last song. And like, that was enough for me to go add it to the review list.
I was surprised by the single choices checking what they were after listening to the album. Like the fact that fucking, I think it was
Equilibrium makes sense.
Well, Equilibrium does, and like Killing or something, or Trapped or something makes sense. And then like a song like fucking Explore, which put me on my ass immediately the second I heard it, not being a single, blew my fucking mind. Cause it's that fucking good. But honestly, so is like everything on the back half of this album.
So let's pick at some pieces here.
That's
that we,
my bias anyway.
I think that like the electronic elements are the draw here. Essentially, this band taking standard metalcore and infusing it with a little bit of like special effects. It like Siri singing to the beat.
There's a lot
was
of that.
one of the coolest things this band did, because it takes something that has become sort of like a generic norm within the metalcore scene, and they made it a little funner than they had to.
They incorporate like a little bit of choir, or at the very least like additional voices on the song Black and White in the chorus that make that song pretty interesting as well. This is the way I listen to this, like when I finish this album, the way I feel like I could sell it to people is that it sounds like Dennis Stoff and Drag Me Out were tasked with writing a Star Set album.
That is such a bizarre way of really accurately summing this up.
Because it's either like Drag Me Out or the Black Era fucking Dennis Stoff led Asking Alexandria, where like the vocals are, and not every song, but like most of them are very like strained, and we're just fucking yelling, but we're kind of keeping it, you know, like we're not losing.
And there's
the
like
voice
a
or
light
anything.
accent, which makes the voice stand out in a sea of like very similar artists I listen to.
And then fucking all of the backdrop is like it's fucking very chuggy, very fun. There's a lot of cool guitar work. This is gonna sound stupid to people who like really understand like solos and shit, but like there's some stuff on the back end of this album that really reminded me of Monty Money era Escape the Fate, which is like probably not what everyone else jumps to, but like I hear some like riffage, I hear some solo stuff, and I'm like, that's fun. And every time I think to like the most fun I've had with guitar work in any album, it's like the first two Escape the Fate albums.
I'm aligned with you on a lot of this. I will say, I think this band takes a lot of swings and it doesn't always hit, but when they connect, it works very well, right?
Yeah.
For me, this is a lot of showcasing potential for the future. Like, I see a band here who has a good idea of what they want to sound like,
Yep.
and are willing to take some chances and do some things that are a little different. And I think when all of the pieces really fall into place, there's enough ingredients here for something great, right? And I don't think it's here. I think there's a lot of good and there's some okay. And when I look at the aspects that I like the most, I think if we can draw from those moving forward and really make sure everything connects on the next album, there's a whole lot of potential.
Maybe even with production too. Like, I think that this band's got a really fucking big, grand thing
Vision,
in mind.
yeah.
In the same way that like
It's got
Stardust
vision.
does, right? And I think that like it's not quite at like the last Stardust or last Starset level album that we heard. Like, there's some stylistic stuff that needs to get worked on. Some production stuff will need some fine tuning, but like overall pretty good. One thing I will say, and I think it's the band's biggest kryptonite at the moment, is lyricism. Like, if we're gonna sing all day and night about how great Samia is, this band's maybe the opposite of that. It's not atrocious or anything. It's not terrible.
It's
but
just
like,
generic. Yeah.
The song Black and White, which I mentioned earlier, had a line like, I don't want to be seen as the jester. I want to be seen as a man or something. And it's like, what are you really trying to say with
Not
that?
quite hitting.
Right. And like that song is kind of all over the place in general. I really like it, but like all of the lyrics are like, you know, there's more to life than like not everything in life is black and white. And it's like, you guys aren't really saying anything. Like, it's not just like you know, an AB rhyme scheme type thing that I have a problem with the lyricism.
Right.
It's like
it's a little too general. It's a little too
messaging,
familiar. Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, maybe next time around, maybe we dig a little deeper. Maybe we get a little more personal.
Right, stand out a little.
Yeah. And then on the flip side, you know, where this band does succeed is we build up to our moments and we give you these quick little breakdowns and we throw some After Effects on top of them.
And they're good, all right?
Yeah.
Like, they're fucking sick.
And for the most part, it really works. So Suasion, how did you pronounce
Suasion.
it? Suasion.
I love that we're both probably wrong somehow, and it's something we're not even thinking of.
Potentially, but
Yeah.
Suasion have a lot of potential.
I think they do. Again, The Infinite, go check that out. It's on all streaming platforms. Lastly, last but not least, we checked out one more band, which was Mask of Prospero, in their new record, Hurrayeth. That one I'm definitely less confident in.
I think that we just roll with it.
Hurrayeth. Hurrayeth.
I think we just go with it. I think
This
we just
is
go with it.
the
I think we just go with it.
Athens, Greece Outfits' second studio album, released January 27th via Vicky Solom Productions. Hurrayeth consists of 8 tracks, clocks in at around 41 minutes, and is the follow-up to 2018's debut LP, The Observatory. A lot of time in between albums. The word Hurrayeth, essentially, Sam, evokes a longing for a home you can never return to, a home which may never even have existed at all. It is a notion tied to the collective and the personal past, nostalgia for what was or should have been.
Okay. So strong anchor
Strong anchor.
to the narrative or emotional weight that this album carries, right? Like, keep that. So you got to keep that in your mind as you're listening to it, right? What this album actually is an alternating crunchy and or chunky riff that
Sammy.
that eventually ends in a fairly satisfying breakdown.
Edit in the word crunchy above
Yeah.
this, because that is the perfect definition for this album. Percussion, crunchy. Vocals, crunchy. fucking the guitars very crunchy. That bass very crunchy.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's like that crunch is what keeps me coming back to this record. It's just got like a very, when you talk about scratching an itch, like this one very much scratches an itch for me.
This the scratch your crunchcore itch.
It did. Crunchcore is actually like a fucking
Low key not bad. Low key not bad.
It's like it's like, honestly, this band sounds like Daybreaker era Architects, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Crunch edition.
You have done an absolutely phenomenal job this
First time
episode of
anyone's ever
trying
said
the most
those sentences.
bizarre.
That's not even the fucking craziest one I got.
What do you got? What you got crazier? Let me hear it.
Technically, it was because that was just like kind of an offshoot of what I had written down, which was, it sounds like if Chunk, No Captain Chunk wrote an Architects album circa 2011.
Absolutely wild description. If anyone doesn't immediately go check this band out on the basis of that description alone,
because like a lot of people are like, you know what, hey, fuck this metalcore band, it sounds like Architects. And it's like, all right, well, which Architects? Because like now sounding like Architects could actually mean a lot of different things.
Sure.
Daybreaker era Architects, which I'm pretty sure is like a lot of people's favorite versions of that band.
So
And
right
also,
now,
also the version of Architects that has maybe been done the least.
I need you to pause a little bit because I feel like you're heaping an insane amount of praise on this band right now. And I sort of want to make sure that I level you out a little bit and see if we're actually on the same page here. Generally, how I felt about this album is that this band did like a 4-song warm-up, and then right around song number 5, absolutely just takes off running and never looks back.
For me, specifically, I think it was a mall.
That's the one. That's where things heat up.
It's got like an uncredited vocal feature. I'm pretty sure it's a vocal feature that
Sophia Sari.
Oh, okay. So very slow build, and it's just Sophia singing for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Until it ain't. And like a minute and a half in, it's just fucking extreme balls to the wall, fucking metalcore. We're screaming.
It's
we're
very
dropping
cleverly
breakdowns.
executed. Like it just lulls you into this little sense of security, right? It's okay, we're changing things up before we say, no, we're going right back to it, bro. Crunchcore on.
And right after
Crunchcore
that,
engage.
Bro, double Crunchcore engaged song right after that. I think it was Lament, I think. It's just fucking vicious, very genty, like 30-second breakdown to kick that song off. And I will pump the brakes a little bit because like this album is only okay to me. Like I don't think it's spectacular by any means. I don't fucking love it.
I put this right there with Suasion. I'm looking at this band and I'm like, man, when they nail it, there is so much potential here.
And you sit there after you've heard it, you're just like, that next album, like it's immediately got you thinking about their next project.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
how much better it likely is going to be, because there's definitely like cracks in the armor here and there. So
right,
like,
but you pull from the aspects that work and then build on that foundation.
So very promising. Yeah, I had a pretty good time with this one. Again, you're kind of right. Like, especially on first listen, it almost didn't even click at all. Second listen, I kind of pick up on where it gets really good, and when it starts getting really good, it doesn't really let up for a while.
So on the back half of that album, there's like like this real ambient sort of like atmosphere aspect surfaces. And piano is brought in on the track Kaima featuring George Prokopou and John Voyager. That shows that this band knows like what works. And I kind of wish the album was like completely flush with just a lot of that, like just like take all these 10 tracks and then like dump them in this atmosphere. And I think you would really have something special here. I think as a whole, the lyrics feel important, but I never feel like I get in a sense of what they're really talking about. More so, I feel the passion, but I don't comprehend exactly what it is that's like driving it.
You feel it, you hear it, but it doesn't really stick the way it's supposed to.
And then like ultimately when this band just kind of like falls back on like a straight ahead like clean build up to a breakdown type beat like the closer Haria, I'm not entirely pressed about it, and it works very well. So again, there's
Haria's
like
really good.
It's very strong. It closes that run out perfectly, right? ultimately what I do is I go, okay, you know, oh man, this breakdown works here. This atmosphere bit works here. I love this vocal feature here. And I like how we changed up the expectations. And it's like, you take 1, 2, 3, mix them all together. That's album number 3. And you've found exactly what works. And I'm really excited to see the band when they get there.
Me too.
Also, I believe they're a Greek metalcore band. Did you say that up top?
Yeah, Athens, Greece.
No way we've ever talked about a band from Greece before. Zero chance, right? It can't be. No
Again,
way.
until a lot of firsts, bro. Never have talked about a band from New York City or an artist.
Never talked about.
Never talked about Belgium. Never talked about fucking Greece.
Once again, every link you need in the description of this episode, like the playlist, like the Discord, like the merch, like the socials. Leave 5 stars on Spotify or Apple. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Tell me you love me. And, guys.
The news.
Panic at the Disco has been killed. Brendan Urie has announced that Panic at the Disco's European tour will cease to exist, and after Panic at the Disco's European tour, the band will cease to exist, and Brendan will focus his energy on his upcoming fatherhood.
I wanted to pull up that song from the OC after they shoot that one guy.
Don't be playing songs out here that are definitely on major labels.
Stupid album to go out on, Panic at the Disco. Great
Absolutely
job, Brendan
brutal.
Urie. What a fucking... This would have been a shame if it was after the last one, sure. Like, you know, wasn't great.
Wish
wasn't
fulfillment
awful.
for a lot of us after years of listening to High Hopes, but
Yeah.
I see generally what you're getting at, sure.
I can't even remember the name of the last album. All I know is that I listened to it once, if that. Like, I couldn't even finish it.
I'm like
Yeah.
searching every aspect of my brain right now to try and find the name of that album.
Viva Las Vegas.
It's not Viva Las. It's not. And you know
Viva
it's
Las
not.
Vengeance.
Viva Las Vengeance. Actually, I was trying to think back. I was trying to go back to the album that had a High Hopes on it, and I couldn't think of the name of that either.
What's the opposite of Viva Las? Like, fucking rest in peace, Vengeance?
I
Like,
mean, Rest in Peace, Vengeance.
shit, dude.
I give up. I'm done. It's over. What do you think? What do you think drove this decision? Right? Because on the surface, I'm seeing. Let me interpret what I'm being
Listen,
fed.
there's
Right?
a-
Brendan
there's a
Urie's
couple
saying,
of different
"Hey."
things.
Brendan Urie's saying, "Hey." Brendan Urie's saying, "Hey." I'm a father now. I don't got time for this Panic at the Disco
Right,
bullshit,
there's a couple
bro.
of different angles you can
Exclamation
come at this
point.
from.
Yeah.
A couple different angles. Conspiracy
But what's he
theorists
actually-
will tell you Pete Wentz killed Panic at the Disco because we leaked the Brendan Urie pregnancy announcement. Others will tell you it's because Panic at the Disco fucking sucked. Everyone saw the writing on the walls. It was game over. I don't think it was poor ticket sales.
I think it was soft ticket
It
sales.
probably wasn't
I think
bad
it was
album
soft ticket sales. I think it was soft ticket sales because that's why you announce it now. That's why you announce it. You go, hey. Actually, fun fact, that European tour is the last one I'm ever going to do. And suddenly,
Check
those
in
tickets
fucking
got
May.
values.
Right.
Suddenly, that ticket has value. Suddenly, it's like, okay, well, hey, maybe that set list suddenly dropped 4 songs from that last album and suddenly picked up 4 songs from literally any album but that one. Literally any album except for that one. Marcos, are you a little bummed out that this is your reaction to Panic at the Disco being fitted? Because in theory, this happened 6 years ago, and you're like, man, I knew this day was coming sooner or later, but it's kind of a bummer.
13-year-old me is kicking in that door behind me and strangling me after hearing me say that I'm happy Panic at the Disco is calling it a day.
Sure, Looper
Because-
you.
Honestly, we've said it before on the show. This is at least my opinion. A Fever You Can't Sweat Out is a top 10 album ever made. No, like, don't try to convince me it isn't. Like, I felt that way for like well over a decade now. It's one of the greatest of all time, but we have to remember that's not this Panic at the Disco for a lot of different reasons. What a lot of people lead you straight to is the fact that Ryan Ross hasn't been in this band since 2009. Last album was pretty odd. They've been on a whole different trajectory since.
We had a question from
That said, right before that question, like, this band goes out on the last album, I'm disappointed, right?
that's the question though. That's the
If it
question.
goes
That's the
on-
question
if it
though.
goes
That's the
on Death of a
question.
Bachelor, I'm fucking crying.
Alex Fish on Patreon asked, some would say that Panic broke up too late. And they would be correct. But curious to know from each of you, when was Panic's last good album in your eyes?
It is called Death of a Bachelor, right?
It is called Death of a
That
Bachelor.
album was
yes.
great.
Death of a Bachelor was fantastic.
I remember
agree.
singing my fucking lungs out in my car to that album.
Death of a Bachelor had heart. It had the heart that Viva Lost Vengeance implies it has, but is actually completely missing from the entire proceedings.
And I don't know. I feel like the popular opinion is that Too Weird to Live isn't that incredible of an album, but I think it is. I think it's like...
I also agree with that as well.
Panic's second best album, if we're being honest. It's probably Fever Can't Sweat Out and then Too Weird to Live.
I might put Death of a Bachelor ahead of it, but I'm with you.
Really?
Mentality-wise, I'm with you.
Like
Mentality-wise, I'm with you.
Together,
but what's important about Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die is that it was the rebirth of Panic at the Disco, because for all intents and purposes, that band felt like a bit of an afterthought, and then suddenly they came back and they were once again like a top 20 charting Billboard band.
Yes. And so part of that question, did Panic at the Disco break up too late? Part of me also thinks like, so yes, because it should have been Panic at the Disco's time to return.
Yeah,
right now.
okay, sure. So in theory, everybody
coming back.
Everybody wishes a band could go out on a high note, but at the same time, everybody wishes that a band never broke up, right? And you can never have it both ways. I will say this: I actually think that this feels a little extreme on Brendan Urie's end. Like, you didn't have to take Panic at Disco out into the courtyard and like. And chop their head off in front of like a screaming crowd. You know what I mean? You could have said, "Hey, the natural thing that everyone does. I'm going on a hiatus while I take time with my family." Like that's where I go. Hey, soft ticket sales, because you have to make a case.
You're forgetting one important thing.
What am I forgetting?
Brendan Urie is a theater kid at heart.
You think this is all part of a show? You think there's a new Panic album this year?
Drama to the max, okay, baby?
You think we're being fooled?
I don't know.
You think we're having the rug pulled out from under us and the curtain pulled down on us?
I think what's happening...
And we're getting tickled?
I think what's happening is that Brendan Urie is like a little dramatic.
Sure.
And...
he's got a flair for it.
You know what's cooler than going on hiatus? Breaking the fuck up. Right? Like now we're like,
yeah, but of course everyone has already pointed out the fucking irony of breaking up a band, which was pretty much just you at this point. Like who'd you call and tell?
Well, I didn't say Brendan was fucking smart, but
there's no way the rest of the current Panic at the Disco did not find out at the same time that Instagram post was made.
So funny.
They did not even receive an email that morning prior to him making that announcement.
Bruh.
They were packing for Europe. They were like, we got big things going on this year.
What do you think Ryan Ross's reaction to this is?
I don't think Ryan Ross gives a fuck anymore. Okay?
You don't?
Ryan Ross has not been in this band for 13 years. I don't think he even listened to the last 3 Panic albums. I promise.
Panic at the Disco, like last year with the Skylit Drive, comes back with Ryan Ross. But they have to end up calling themselves P!ATD.
Sure.
Because Brendan Urie also comes back in an act of pure rage that anyone like Michael Jagman would.
I think if we had 2 Panic at the Discos, it would create like a wormhole that we'd all get sucked into immediately. We did have another question on Patreon. Marco Simon asks, with Panic gone, what's your bet on the next band that's going to break up? This is a fun one.
Big band, okay?
I'm thinking like large nostalgic. Now, a lot of people have said the writing is on the wall for All Time Low, but we'll wait and see. Alternatively, the Paramores, the Fall Out Boys, the My Chemical Romances are essentially back, so there's no case to be made for them, right?
Green Day. They're getting up there, Sam. I'm pretty sure like fucking Billy Joel Armstrong's a healthy 72.
Green Day feels like one of those bands who will live sort of within the same level of existence as like a Guns N' Roses, where every year they go on a farewell tour for like a decade. You know what I mean? Like it'll just be like Green Day broke up, but you could see them in concert next year, the year after, and performing live this New Year's Eve. You know what I mean? But I almost like the idea that Green Day would just announce this is our final album, we're breaking up, because that would actually get me excited for Green Day again. You know, there's a way that this can work in your favor. Like I'm curious, had Brendan Urie announced like before Viva Las Vengeance dropped that this was the final album, this was the final tour, like a lot of this stuff, I wonder if there had been a little more, and the album had been good, if there were a little more excitement around all of this, as opposed to here where it just feels like you've taken a frail, dying, lifeless body off of life support.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It felt like a really long death. Like we weren't supposed to feel pain.
It both at the same time, it feels like an instant kill and like a drawn out one, because like this came out of nowhere, but at the same time, like it feels like Panic's been running on fumes ever since High Hopes became one of the biggest songs ever. And it's so bizarre because I feel like in theory, you could have rode a wave into a level of popularity where you maintained being one of the biggest household names, but maybe credit given or not credit given to Brendan Urie for choosing to pivot so hard away from that.
But what a weird fucking stupid album.
You just wish it wouldn't have been this, right?
Yeah.
Like you wish he had gotten a little too weird and given us something more exciting than what we'd gotten. But it's like listen, it's like the mindset was right, but like the execution just missed.
We wear fucking Vegas on our sleeve. This is Viva Las Vengeance. This is fucking the least, like, this album has no fucking charm. It has no special thing about it.
Went out on a whimper, you know what I mean?
It's a very gray album. And I think of Viva Las Vengeance not just because like the background around Brendan on the artwork is gray. It's like sonically, it's just a very gray record. It's just very blah. It's just, I don't know.
It left no impression.
This is disappointing for a lot of reasons. Like mainly just because it's like you're kind of faced with the fact that like you don't care, and that's the worst part about it all. And I guess I'm speaking for myself here, but like, man, what fucking timeline did we end up in where one of my favorite bands growing up breaks up and I don't give a shit? And I know that's been the case for a lot of artists, for a lot of people throughout.
I think
the years,
arguably it's probably the more consistent end to most bands than what actually you'd wish for.
I think what Simon on the Patreon was actually trying to ask us is, when do we think 21 Pilots' first hiatus is going to be? Because if we're talking like emo, quadrinity, fucking quintuplicity, like that's the fifth and final piece at this point. What's going on with them? Last album kind of sucked. I don't really remember there being like a great standout fucking hit single off that one. Actually, let me check.
Respectfully, I did not love the last album as well. Now, whether there was a hit single off of it is hard for me to say. I think arguably the first two singles off that album were very good.
They were.
And the rest of the album did not quite follow through for me. It's interesting that you would even like propose the idea that
nothing in their top 5 off that album. I mean, granted, like this is a band that's got fucking nearly 2 billion streams on like every other song, but
sure.
I don't know.
But I feel like what you proposed is, when is 21 Pilots going on hiatus? But that's not the question asked, and that's also not what Panic at the Disco is doing. And I think the curiosity for me remains is, why not just consider this a hiatus? But I do like what you've presented, which is the idea that Panic just wants to be as dramatic as possible.
All right, you ready to pull this in a couple of years? What's the over under? 3 years?
A lot of people were speculating that Brendan would just go on to release music under his name, and it's the Panic that he's just letting go of.
Interesting.
I think someone had mentioned that like his feature in Taylor Swift is Brendan Urie, not Panic at the Disco. You know what I mean? So it's not as if his name does not have cachet. Now, there was another rumor going around that Brendan Urie was going to join Fall Out Boy as well, but we dispelled that pretty quickly. That's not actually the case.
Guys, how are you fooled so easily? Come on.
Seriously.
Waterparks are back. Brand new song, Real Super Dark.
And everyone's freaking me out. I wake up and I'm not gonna tell.
Waterparks have a new album entitled Intellectual Property out April 14th. It's their first on Fueled by Ramen Records. The album will include recent singles Fuck About It, Funeral Grey, and Self-Sabotage. And they're actually going on a North American headlining run in late April. I'm pretty sure I've seen a bunch of dates are already sold out with support from Honey, Hunny.
I believe it's called the Intellectual Property Tour, and it's literally like the album rollout. It starts like a week after the album drops. Perfect timing. So, am I crazy in thinking that this is the hottest like 4-single run leading up to an album this band has ever had?
Last album was good.
Okay, so is this recency bias is what you're saying?
No, it's a kind of a loaded question though, believe it or not. Like I feel like
okay, let me rephrase it. Does Waterparks remain one of the most dynamic and exciting bands in the pop punk scene, period?
Yeah, and we're not quite at the level yet where like, it's complete and utter drop everything you're doing event level type of thing when Bring Me the Horizon drops like a new song or something, but like Waterparks drops a new song and I'm paying real fucking close attention and I'm hearing it within like 3 hours that it's dropped.
Sure, they might not have quite reached the status of a Bring Me the Horizon in terms of popularity in the overall scene, but that fan base certainly celebrates the release of every song. Like
sure.
it's hell, I'd argue that
The second coming of Panic at the Disco, baby.
I'd argue some of the more recent Waterpark songs have received a much stronger reception than Strangers from Bring Me the Horizon, which I think is a song that really came and went. So just abstractly, but let's not pin two bands against each other for absolutely no reason.
Quality music. I'm saying I'm not pinning anyone. I'm just saying like
Waterparks versus Bring Me the Horizon.
Horizon drops anything, I drop everything I'm doing. Like I'm running outside. I'm on my phone. I'm invested right in that moment. Waterparks drop something and it's still like a 2-3 hour delay, but I'm paying real close attention. I'm really excited about
Fascinating
it.
way of describing your relationship to bands. Based on the time it takes you to check out their
Come on
singles.
now.
This is a drop everything. This is a 2 to 3 hours. This is a pullover. This is a wait till I get
I'm gonna
home.
be honest with you. Like Sleeping with Sirens drops a new song. It's an 8 hour. Okay. Spirit Box drop a new
now
song.
You're starting
2.
Now you're giving
2
some
hours.
perspective. Yes. Speaking of lyrical geniuses, Austin Knight is on some shit with this new track.
Yeah.
And also incredibly self-aware of almost exactly the types of things to feed to his audience to really get them engaged and excited.
Dropping those fucking like in the background, you can like faintly hear it like, oh, where's Otto? Like fucking digging right into like
playing into the narrative. Precisely.
It's literal art.
Speaking of literal art, I really enjoyed the visual for this as well, which is just sort of like a compilation of the band having fun mixed in with like what feel like ideas for videos that were never like fully fleshed out.
I like that Waterparks kind of finally have their mascot. Like, Double Dare comes out and we got like some blueberry grenades and they're fine, but they're not really like a thing.
Sure.
We get the album.
We had the Tangerine.
Yeah, Tangerine. Yeah. It's a little splattery and it's like, all right, whatever. Last album was just the boys, just the band, right? Whatever.
Sure.
This album we got our frog friend and he's kind of dope. And he's like, he's going all across the world in this video.
You're big on the frog, huh?
I'm big on the frog. And I'm gonna be honest with you. Tangerine was cool. I think we actually have like the next second best mascot from like any era in general in that red tennis ball. The red tennis ball is absolutely
there are a lot of strong visual
sick.
Themes. I agree with you. Yes. This band has done a good job of correlating their visuals very directly with this album rollout.
Sam, I was watching fucking tennis earlier. This is a true story. I saw a tennis ball. It's like fucking Waterparks. That's their thing.
it's fascinating that they could incept you that deeply that even watching tennis makes you think of the band, and you have to wonder if that's exactly what they're going for. Now I don't know if you
You're watching
remember
Discovery Channel one night, a frog pops on,
that they also had
and
tennis
you're gonna
ball
be
merch.
like, yeah, tennis ball merch.
Tennis ball merch was a great idea. Can I get a Waterparks frog? Yet to be seen. Against the Current have dropped their brand new song, Blindfolded.
I can't go back. No, I've gone too far. I miss the way that my eyes fill with stars. Tell myself to let it go, but I don't. I wish that I could let it go.
The band is kicking off the Nightmares and Daydreams World Tour starting this April. For those of you who paid close attention listening to the song, Nightmares and Daydreams was a line within it.
It's a good name for a world tour. It's a strong name for a world tour.
So strong that you thought almost immediately this would be the name of an upcoming album that was not announced in any sense alongside the release of this song.
I am very excited to have a new Against the Current song. It's a really good song. I really like it. The
Feels
video
like
is
it's
very
been a minute.
watchable.
Feels like it's been a minute. I feel like that last EP was 2021.
I'm starving though. I need an album.
You need the announcement. Yeah, I agree with you as well. The visual for this music video, I think, landed a little soft for me. There were some aspects I really liked. Like I loved Chrissy singing in some unknown venue, but you get to see like all the band posters in the background. It felt what I liked is that
the Wonder Years right behind her.
Right. And there was like municipal waste. It's like okay, this is an actual authentic place. Like we didn't like try to recreate what a venue would be, right? And I enjoyed that, but it's sort of interspersed with like just Chrissy sort of like standing outside with the daylight hitting her, and then like alternately there's the rest of the band like standing around at night.
Yeah, it was a little stale in those parts.
Yeah, like I felt like watching the video, I found myself sort of like daydreaming a little bit.
Shut the video off, lose yourself in the song, though.
The song is so gorgeously sung, you're right. It's like alternately, it's almost like for me, the video feels like it does a bit of a disservice to what I think is a really strong potential lead single for an upcoming album.
Yep. You think this tour's hidden Belgium? Maybe
Literally,
it's a
world. It's going everywhere. It's a world tour. It's literally in the name. It's in the name. Every single place it's going to. But they wouldn't call it a world tour if it wasn't hitting everybody.
Panic at the Disco's got some stiff competition then.
I would literally see
competing.
Against the Current 1,000 times before I even considered seeing Panic at the Disco's final show.
August Burns Red have released their new single, Backfire. Backfire is the second single from August Burns Red upcoming 10th album, Death Below. It's out March 24th. The band embarks on a 20-year anniversary tour. We're getting old, Sam. Support for that tour? Devil Wears Prada and Bleed From Within. And it starts this February, and I just remembered we need to fucking buy tickets for that if it's not already sold out.
But what is driving that ticket purchase for you?
Devil Wears the fucking Prada.
And why isn't it August Burns Red?
I don't know. This is science's biggest mystery. This is the universe's biggest mystery.
Okay.
Is what is August Burns Red putting in their music that is so potent that their entire fan base just digs in, eats it up every single fucking time? Because I'm still not there. I still don't get it. I'm still not feeling it. It's good. It's metalcore, right? Metalcore means good. Not quite. In this instance, it's fine, okay? And it's been fine for 20 years since August Burns Red has been putting it out.
I want to challenge. I'd like to present a challenge. Is that I think August Burns Red has actually had significantly stronger singles that have really convinced me that this band is something special. The first one that always comes to mind is Invisible Enemy, which I think is an absolutely brilliant song. And I think by point of comparison, I am looking at the first two singles for this album and I am incredibly underwhelmed.
I will hand it to you, not even going back to that album. The one before this one, I was a little bit more hyped on everything too. And even like later singles from that record, like I resold me on songs I had previously heard. Like I forget the name of the song, but the one where they're like all the maintenance guys working in the grocery store overnight.
That was really fun
That's
as
a fun
well.
video.
And I think now I'm looking at this video in particular, and it is incredibly low key. It is the band performing in front of fire, which alternates then with shots of them performing sort of encircled by fans in pretty much the same location. And the song itself just feels incredibly bare bones. Like there's just nothing flashy about it whatsoever.
Even like, I think the thing with August Burns Red is like if I'm gonna enjoy it, like there has to be something more than just the music. And typically it's like this video is really cool. Like we did like stop motion animation, fucking puppet animatronic type stuff.
They had a video where like a kid was best friends with Sasquatch, if I remember correctly.
There was a dinosaur in one. It was all animated.
Overall, I think that the most frustrating aspect of August Burns Red is I know what they're capable of, and this feels like it hits so far below that.
I'm not feeling it whatsoever. Not enjoying it. Really not looking forward to this album yet.
Yeah, this is hard because the last song as well really didn't click for me either. And you know, it doesn't help that I'm not the biggest Jesse Leach fan, who was the feature in that track. And then the video was incredibly self-serious as well. And while I do think that there is a performance given in that video that is actually kind of strong, overall, there's also a lot of aspects of just like the band performing like just fucking surrounded by darkness. It just feels like there's no visual stimuli to their videos. And then alternatively, the aspects of metalcore that tend to be like a serotonin rush for me, which are these like big builds and breakdowns and like flashier aspects. It's just August Burns Red has kind of washed their hands completely clean of any of that, and they're just going like straight ahead, stay the course type metalcore here, and it just really comes in as a soft thud, which is the worst thing you could want as a metalcore band. Enterprise Earth dropped their brand new song, The World Without Us. This is the sequel to the single Death Magic, released earlier this month. The band is currently on the tail end of a European tour. I think it's ending literally the day this episode comes out. With support from Shadow of Intent, Angel Maker Into the Grave, or alongside Shadow of Intent, Angel Maker Into the Grave.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a Shadow of Intent.
Yeah. That's why I ran it back, because I don't think Enterprise Earth is headlining that tour. They are part of that.
Pretty sure
tour.
this is the Elegy World Tour.
Okay, so Death Magic comes out, Enterprise Earth sounding extremely similar to how they sounded in most recent memory, which is one of the heavier deathcore bands in the scene, right?
Yes.
And now we flip it on its head a little bit. The World Without Us comes out, and it opens clean vocal delivery, almost soft vocal delivery.
At some point, another member in the band is helping deliver those soft vocals.
And later on, you know, we sort of like, we sort of circle back and sort of do the thing that we're most like familiar with, and we pepper in a lot of like these crazy guitar solos as well, which Enterprise Earth has done a good job of making a name for themselves in deathcore as being a band who is just incredibly talented. Like their guitars is just incredibly talented, right? And it's a big part of what made The Chosen stand out for me last year. I think what's most fascinating about this, and I think of that most recent of Sulfur song we talked about last week, is that quietly, and even the Pain Remains trilogy to some extent, the meta in deathcore is now becoming, we are doing soft aspect, like we're putting in clean singing, we're being we're gonna surprise you with our deathcore, because you know now we've got clean vocals, you know, and now we're like, hey, not all deathcore is heavy, which is a statement that is hilarious when spoken out loud, right? And I will say this, you know, what I like about this song, what I liked about like that of Sulfur song, is that I think this contrast works extremely well, because you're really going for like opposite ends of the spectrum, right? And I think deathcore can really benefit from that, but it is fascinating to watch a genre whose namesake is that it is alternatives heaviest, like this is where you go for the heavy, now sort of draw back and say, no, deathcore doesn't have to be heavy, which once again, when spoken out loud, is just an ironically funny thing. But it is so funny that every genre stumbles into the same end narrative. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think Whitechapel opened up every single band in that genre's eyes.
I always forget about Whitechapel, but you're right. They are the pinnacle, like the perfect example of this.
It's like even with Kim, like there are songs that are so soft on that record. And you're right. It is hilarious that the new meta has really just turned into like old meta, like, Tired, making songs as literally insanely heavy as fucking imaginable.
In a weird way, it's almost like we're already pushing back against the Lorna Shore Renaissance we had 2 years ago and now trying to find a way to differentiate ourselves.
Wired, how soft can we actually go before we can't make the song heavy again by the end of the track?
And you have to wonder yourself.
Like Enterprise Earth have a 5-minute timer on. They're going to start out they're going to start out slow and get even slower. And they got like 2 minutes to get back to the finish line.
It just feels like heavy music fans, every time they find a oasis in the desert, they run out of water. Like there's no actual like safe space being a heavy music enjoyer.
This song's good. I like it.
Yeah, this is actually a really neat song. As someone who like is not incredibly stuck on things needing to sound a certain way, I can come into this Enterprise Earth song and say, yeah, they've got. For me, this says a lot about the potential of Enterprise Earth as a project. And for me, it speaks more to the future of this band than it does this one song in particular. Like, I like the thought process here. Let's keep it like, let's take it. Like, let's see where we can take it. Like, that's what I'm really curious about. And like I said, I think when The Chosen dropped, it showed a band who was thinking a little bit outside the box, was sounding a little bit different than all the other deathcore bands I was listening to. And I think because of these things, Enterprise Earth remained one of the more exciting bands in this space.
Well, I like that for the most part, the band took the torch that the old vocalist was maybe running with, and like they're still pushing their limits nowadays, right? Like it didn't start and end with the old vocalist. I think his name is Dan. I forget exactly.
Dan Watson, yes.
And I forget the new name.
Who has another project cooking, I believe.
The fact that like this band's still kind of continuing the path that they were started maybe with The Chosen. I think that's interesting. And I think it's definitely starting to kind of like the songs that are kind of formulating as a result are really interesting.
They're versatile and it makes them dangerous.
The Xcerts have dropped Gimme. The Xcerts also announces that they're signing to one UNFD Records.
This is a clutch signing right here. This is a great song. I think the Xcerts are a really fun and exciting band, and one of the more exciting acts to watch, who you can take these three individuals, literally just put them in the room, and they make a music video that had me just like stuck on them for that 2.5 minute total song I think we had here.
How do you think the band fits into UNFD's roster?
I think UNFD has range. And I can see a band like this and a band like Ocean Grove being the sort of opposite of a band like Void of Vision, or who the hell else is on UNFD? Silverstein. I think that when you invent anime, I think when you start to pick apart this label, you'll see that there's actually a lot of variety here.
So the Xcerts are
in Heart's Wake, yes, as well. I think there's a lot of range to UNFD, and the Xcerts is a cool pickup.
I like this one.
The in particular, the thing that really stood out to me about this is just the vocalist and their really sort of weird energy that they gave off in their performance, like never spending a lot of the song like never making eye contact, but then having these moments where you're looking directly at like the listener, and the sort of like really quirky lyrics. Like you combine that sort of like presence with this style of song, and you have just really these like combative sort of like style that like it just felt fresh, and it felt exciting, and it felt unique, and it made me glued to this band in a way that like I want to see what they're going to do next. Locket dropped their new song Sonic Bloom.
Could leave it all behind.
Overgrown and amplified.
Backflip, weightless round the room. Flowers thrown over your head is true. That I'm all
The band wrapped up recording a new album last year because this is their first release since 2020.
Sam, like I saw Locket and it didn't even register for me that I knew who the band was initially. Like I saw their name pop up. I was like, Locket. And it took like repeating it 10 times to be like,
For them to appear out of nowhere in the bathroom with you.
Locket.
Yeah.
I remember this band, and hey, when we learned about them in 2020, they were actually really fucking sick, and I think they dropped an EP or an album that was honestly like really solid.
I'm almost positive it was a full length. Yeah, this band essentially signed a Fearless record, dropped a full length, endured a pandemic, and now is back.
Right. It fucking walked away, no contacts, no explanation, and just reappeared.
Also, they come back sounding a little different than I think I remember them as well. There's sort of a grungy aspect to this band and this new track in particular that it feels a lot more like maybe guitar driven than how I remember their other stuff sounding significantly more poppy. Yeah, pop punk, sure. Yeah.
Punky. And what's funny is
Poppy punky.
I listened to a song like Sonic Bloom and I'm like, mood ring?
Yes,
It's a little mood ring, which is essentially saying it gives Deftones.
What's
but
interesting is you're right. It has like that lyrical delivery, and then it has like that really like punchy guitar riff.
And then the aesthetic, the visuals are so grungy, and like it's got like, I don't know, there are things where it feels like it's the camera's slowing down and stuff.
I think a nice point of comparison, maybe not directly in their sound, is almost they feel like they have Boston Manners approach to pop punk, where it makes a nice like coding, but at the heart of it is something completely different.
Yes. I like that too, yeah.
This video is really neat. Like it has a band performing all by themselves, but then like suddenly you snap your finger in this like room that they're stuffed into, which felt like the heart of this whole video is suddenly filled with people, and it has like this whole different energy it didn't have before.
I feel like there was like confetti or something in the air. I forget exactly, but yeah.
A lot of flashing lights.
Yeah.
A lot of flashing lights.
Cool colors. Coliseums have released their new song, Designer Antichrist.
Marcus, I pulled straight from the Spotify the description of what this band was doing,
listen.
by all means.
Okay.
I just wanted you to know where like this isn't news. It's more so like a description of this artist we found.
So quote unquote, with their latest single, Designer Antichrist, recently released, Coliseums are making an assertive start to 2023. The band have got off to a rapid start since releasing Divided in 2020, following it with 2021's Putrid, Hate Myself, and Satanist, to showcase a playful diversity that Coliseums is all about.
Yeah.
Their debut EP, Chaleur, was released at the end of 2021, featuring the likes of James Harrison of Ocean's 8 Alaska to underground acclaim, described as combining bands like Polyphia, Issues, and Amur into one. the band has something very exciting to bring to the fold.
Now I
And
know you're looking at those three band names and you're thinking to yourself,
That
Polyphia
doesn't even
issues
scratch
and
the
Amur.
fucking surface.
You're right, and at the same time, it's almost like, are they fucking with me? Or are they just throwing band names out there that they think would be fun? Like, no, this band actually somehow manages to encapsulate those three artists all within their unique sort of R&B meets metalcore style.
Right. And then like throwing a little bit of like, man, Chase Atlantic into there, throwing a little bit of, I don't know, it's very fucking, it's a little genty at times. Like this is an entirely different, I don't know, like a very swancore type of chorus. Not something like all of those things together mixed into one maybe wouldn't work, but I think this band really sells it.
This band was entirely unpredictable in this song, and that's what made it such a joy to watch. And I will say, not only because we have a reaction video of us watching this up on our YouTube channel, link in the description of this episode
But
if you're
go
just
react
listening.
to it with us for the first time. It was our first time.
What I'm
hearing
getting
the
at is
song.
that you need to see the video for this as well, because this band is just absolutely silly with it, and it's a joy to watch. And you combine it with this just sort of bizarre song structure that they have, and the way that it goes absolutely everywhere, the way that this video also manages to go absolutely everywhere. And I'm just saying is that Coliseums have fucking vision, and I'm here for it.
It's nice. Good to start the year off with a band like Coliseum.
Yeah, one of these bands where it's like immediately I need to see what they're doing next, and like I'm like low key, I've got them in the back of my mind in a lot of ways for maybe like some of the best things I've heard already so far. There's like one of the more like
Unique things that maybe we'll have this year.
Which, to be fair, is it feels like a lot of this week. There are some new artists that I'm really excited about, and that's the kind of thing that I want going into 2023. Like I look at Coliseum's.
Look at the albums we reviewed this week. It's all a bunch of new, exciting
Three
stuff.
artists we never talk about. You know, I'm thinking about a band like the Xcerts, which I never heard before, and I want to talk about a band, Oxymorrons, and their new song "Enemy."
Sticks and stones can't break mine. California heard it through the grapevine. Zach Jones hit it with the baseline. Mad low and no waistline. Scoop Joe chick on FaceTime. My swag never on decline. Oxys can't be defined. My C card don't decline.
This band is actually set to support Bad Omens alongside Ghost Kid on their European headlining tour, and they are self-described as hip-hop meets hard rock, and they've coined it melanin punk. Now, we also have a reaction video for this over on our YouTube channel. Go check that out, and this video is a blast, right? It's literally a blast from a square gun.
But it's because of this band. Like Oxymorrons are inherently fun, and like they very clearly have fun with the music that they write, the way that they perform it, the way that they
The energy that they
convey
bring
that,
to their performance,
right, the energy
the
within the
visual
video.
aesthetic that they bring to their video, which is absolutely gorgeous to watch. The way that
it all
it's
feels
just
very
like
fresh.
it's all of these like colors and they're all like blended together, and this band's high energy that sells the whole performance. And like overall, I look at a band like Coliseums and I look at a band like Oxymorrons and I go, okay, like R&B and like punk or metalcore or hard rock, mixing those together is not anything new, sure, but I feel like we've so like lightly scratched the surface for the potential of what we can be doing. To see more bands coming along and taking shots at it has me really encouraged, because I think that in theory, this is one of the more realistic directions the scene should be heading in if they want to break out of sort of the mold that we're all kind of trapped in right now. And like to get back to back a band like Coliseums and Oxymorrons, who have two completely different approaches to the same idea, and then both of them have like this visual panache in the way that they like present it in their music videos. This is the exciting part of 2023 moving forward, are looking at two bands like this and going, okay, yeah, let's see it. Let's see where we can go.
Give it to me, right?
Marcus, final news story this week.
Archetypes Collide, their new song "What If I Fall."
Head is in the clouds. It's a long way down. What if I fall and waste away the life that I have made? What if I fail and let down everyone who trusted me?
Archetype Collide are releasing their debut self-titled album on March 31st, which is pretty soon.
Yeah, that is pretty soon. That's going to be on Fearless Records. That'll be their debut on Fearless Records. They signed to the label late last year and dropped the
Was it late last year? I
hilariously.
thought it was early
was it
last
late?
year.
Was it early last year?
I thought it was early.
We're going to go mid to early last year. They dropped the hilariously named Undertow, which I'm finding in my heart the ability to forgive them for, even though it was 2022, and saying Undertow in a metalcore song is at this point hysterical. So hysterical that when I heard it in a Treyu song this week, I almost fell out of my chair. This is a different Archetypes Collide than the song I heard last year. This feels like an Archetypes Collide that's sort of embracing almost like a country rock feel to their song, or bringing in like a country rock
A little.
style into an otherwise metalcore song, and coming up with something that I wouldn't say is unique, but we don't have quite enough of in the scene. You know, we were talking about kind of like Wage War is a good point of comparison for this band, but specifically like a strip back Wage War, like a Johnny Cash like Esh Wage War.
Yeah.
And I found that like Archetypes Collide is kind of like quietly finding themselves like a little niche within the scene that could work really well for them. And I think that's the best way to approach it. And What If I Fall feels like a good template for what this band can do moving forward.
Completely agree.
Very curious to hear this record. If Undertow's on it and What If I Fall is on it, those are my two songs going in. Like that for me paints like not at all a clear picture of exactly what I'll get.
But it kind of has to be both, right? Because I don't think I want an album of just What If I Fall. I'd be interested to see an album of Undertow, but I don't think I just want just that.
The thing is that I also want like a secret third thing. I was like, let's see just what kind of things this band can bring. I don't just
Right.
want one. I just want the other. Like, I kind of want to see what this band what are their ideas, you know?
Yeah, I think that Archetypes Collide are it feels like they're still in their infancy. Like, I don't know how active this band, or how long they were active before being signed to Fearless. And part of me wants to say not too long, but like, to me, still a younger band, still a lot of like things to prove, I would imagine. And I'd like them to see I'd like to see them actively show those things. I guess.
Self-titled debut on Fearless, though, this is like your opportunity to make a real impression.
Self-titled
You know
is
what I
always a
mean?
statement.
Precisely.
It's the only reason it's ever self-titled. It's a statement album. That's how I see it.
Thanks, everybody, for listening/watching. You can follow us at SOTS Podcast on all social media. Once again, jump into the description of this episode. Hit those GoFundMe links. Give anything if you have it. We love you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Good fucking Belgium.
Black